road trip, going to Myrtle Beach. Not for fun, but to pick up my mom and bring her back home. And there's some things. I subscribe to Vention, and he had a topic called Weird Stuff. And I find that kind of stuff really interesting. I'm a nerd, I admit it, and I'm proud of it. I like to ponder unusual things. And a lot of things that most people are either totally clueless of, or if they heard it, they just disregarded it. It wasn't something that stuck. Environment. I am totally aware of how technology, the use of fossil fuels, charcoal, nuclear energy, all this stuff, how it affects our environment. I understand that. I understand how it can cause what they used to call, global warming, or now climate change is the more politically correct term. But most people aren't aware that the other planets in our solar system are also heating up at the same rate as our planet is. So I know that my driving this car is not causing Pluto, no longer a planet, it's been declassified. Jupiter, it's not causing Jupiter to increase in heat. Something else is going on, but that's never mentioned, or rarely mentioned in major media when they talk about climate change on Earth. What's going on? So just look that up and be more aware that there's a lot more things going on with that than we're told. Other weird things, being a Bible believer, and the different things in timelines, the whole, this planet is billions of years old, or it's 6,000 years old, those two things, and wondering and studying the Bible and knowing what I've learned from it and still am learning. And I'm driving this car on fossil fuels, on petroleum, on crude oil. Ever wonder why that the best source of crude oil is in the Middle East? And what if it's not old dead dinosaurs that's fueling this car, but humans that died in the flood? Just a weird stuff thing that I'm actually putting people into the tank. I mean, yeah, there's you can find crude oil all over the planet, but it's the most accessible in the Middle East, where the majority of people, when Noah built his ark, lived. Not all people, but I believe the vast majority of people lived there at that time period. Another, weird thing. Also, the speed of light. I love science. I love technology. I am a gadget freak. I love gadgets in the kitchen. I love electronics. But I do stay away from the bleeding edge of technology. I will not buy the latest new release of something. I won't do it. I will not spend the money on it, because I know that in 6 months to a year it will drastically drop in price. And I do not feel the ego need to go, I got the latest thing. Just like my cell phone. I use a track phone. I pay $8 a month, and I buy my minutes every 3 months to keep this track phone going. It is not a smartphone. It does not have GPS. It doesn't take pictures. It is purely for emergency, for someone to contact me when I'm out. And anyone that calls me on the cell phone that gets my number, I have to train them. I'm quick, don't use up my minutes on this. I have a house phone you can call and talk to me on, or we'll meet face to face. But just ask me what you need to ask me, or tell me what you need to tell me, and let's get off the phone. That's me. So anyway, gadgets and science. I've gotten into quantum physics, which is really, really fascinating. And I do not, don't think I understand it I'm trying to grasp some of its concepts. But anyway, a major premise, I think a lot of people who aren't even, a nerd like me has heard, E equals mc squared. C stands for the speed of light, and it's a lowercase c that's used in that formula, and it stands for a constant. The speed of light is supposed to be a constant speed. I always forget the numbers. My husband can spout out the numbers. I can't do it. But it's not constant. And I get arguments on this from a lot of people when I try to bring it up, but it's been pretty much, you have to understand history of science also. For a long time, the renowned scientists believed that speed of light was instantaneous. There was no speed. It was just instantaneous. It was just there and not there, And then a man triangulating, it's really fascinating, triangulating, he predicted an eclipse on one of the moons of either Saturn or Jupiter, I forget which one. There was an eclipse on one of the moons, and it was very well timed. With astronomy, you can figure out all this stuff, and he knew exactly when that eclipse would be over, and the distance from there to here, where he was, monitoring it with his telescope, he measured how long it took before he saw light after the eclipse was over, and he calculated the speed of light. This man died, ridiculed, and mocked because he actually set a speed for light. It took the scientific community 50 years to acknowledge he was right. By then, he was already dead and buried, and his name was just ridiculed in the scientific community until he was, posthumously awarded, accolades for having discovered that light had a speed. Well, that's been acknowledged like 160, 70 years ago, and other institutes of repute have been monitoring the speed of light since then. Yes, there may be a little variance as we've gotten better technology, and we may maybe take it to the, a lot shorter time, fraction of a time. But in the 170 years it's been monitored, it has been slowly decreasing. It's still pretty darn fast, but it's decreasing. It's not constant, and people are still fighting that. Now, the person who brought this up to the scientific community was an amateur also. And I think there's a reason why, just like in the religious community, it has to be someone outside the community or someone having to break the bonds of what they were in, what denomination, like Martin Luther had to leave the Catholic Church and become a Protestant in order to effect the change that people needed to study the Bible. Science is now a religion in many ways. And they won't acknowledge that the speed of light is not constant, because that really changes things. And to further back this up, I think the speed of light has been exponentially decreasing. It's kind of like a curve where it's really high at the beginning. I mean, it was even phenomenally faster than it is now. Because that explains when you look in a telescope, like on the Hubble telescope, and you're literally looking back, supposedly billions of years from the Big Bang, closer to the Big Bang, the further out you look, that light has taken billions of years to get to Earth, to where we can see it in the telescope. So you're actually time traveling when you're looking at a telescope, because what you're looking at took time to get here. The sunlight takes 8 minutes from the sun to get to Earth. So the sunlight you're looking at now is 8 minutes old, roughly. So when you're looking in the Hubble telescope, looking out billions and billions of light years out, there are galaxies that far out that are fully formed. Well, if they were that formed back then, either the universe is much, much older, or the forming is isn't what we think it is. And things were created, formed. Or there's just something wrong with the way science depicts this development of things. And we need to ask questions, just like I believe there is no question I cannot ask concerning my religion, my faith, the Bible, Christianity, God. And God even welcomes those questions. And any pastor or person who shuts down questioning, I have a problem with them. And the same goes for science. If you ever, a good teacher versus a bad teacher. You can ask a question of a good teacher. Really ask something on that topic. And if that teacher, they're more than glad to answer it if they know the answer. But if they don't know the answer, that teacher will be glad to go, you know what, that's a good question. I'll get the answer to you when I research it some more. That's a good teacher. Not that they know everything, but they're not scared of something they don't know. Now, the bad teachers don't allow any questions. They don't like questions, even to stuff that they may have the answers to, because you are distracting from what they think they should be doing. When really answering questions is the main thing teachers should do. Yeah, we all know students that ask questions just to kill time in the class and is not productive questioning, but I'm talking about teachers who don't like any sort of questions, especially something that they do not know the answer to. Or they mock you. Anyone who mocks me for asking a question, I'm sincerely, I want to know, and maybe it is a stupid question to them, but I don't understand it. I want to understand. So, please beware of people like that. If you can't ask someone a question without them being belligerent to you, that's their problem, not you. You're not the dumb one, it's them. Weird stuff, speed of light. How come things that far, billions of light years away, are still fully formed? I hate that things are presented as facts when they're theories. And those are some of the things I ponder upon, think about and find interesting and weird. And I'm sure it makes me weird to some people, but I thought I'd share those things with you. Thanks for listening.